Well, I guess I'm recording to the cloud. I typically record to my computer because there's something about the cloud that still frightens me, but I'm sure I'm sure it'll be fine. So Mark, how are you, sir? Martine, how are you?
Fine. I'm doing the Prensky 4-day thing at the moment. So.
Yeah, that seems like it's a popular one. How has that been going?
Interesting.
That was a fairly long pause, as I know you, Martine. Do you feel comfortable expanding on that a little bit? This is being recorded.
Yeah. I think George surprised me Thursday by his answer that I didn't agree with, but yesterday he came back to that answer and clarified it a little bit. Still not sure that I agree with the answer, but other than that, yeah, it's interesting. No, it's yeah, I enjoy it.
All right, that was very non-committal. Appreciate that, Martine. and my apologies, I got that wrong. When I saw your post the other day about being in school, I assumed the way I read it was that you were beginning, not concluding.
So I concluded a long time ago, but I never updated it. So and he keep asking me update. So well, as well do it.
Yeah, so. I was a little bit surprised. Well, that's such a lie. I wasn't surprised at all. But the fact that you had time for that. For those of you that don't know Martine, the woman has done everything there is to do, I think, pretty much. I'm not sure there's a whole lot missing anymore. But anyway, so I've got nothing today. I was trying to think of something to start us off with, and I got nothing. So there. What do y'all think of that?
How normal.
Sorry, Jerry, did you say normal or not normal?
Yeah, normal. No, normal. Hey, let's see what happens.
Geez, how easy was that, eh? Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could ask Narayan to, I hope I didn't mispronounce that too much, what are you looking for and what were you expecting from this group of non-organized people?
Nice, Bruce. Look at you go, man. You have a career as a coach coming up. I can feel it. That's a good question.
Well, there's always your perennial favorite. What have you seen new since the last time?
What's better since last time, or what's new since last time? We can always use that if we like. I've been challenged to hold the silence or hold the space a little bit better. So I was thinking I would just come on here and not say anything and see what happened.
Well, we ended the last session with a really nice silent period. Do you remember that, Michael? It was blissful.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. And you know what? Screw it. We could talk about this a little bit. In the past, when I've hosted these, I've felt like I've had a role as a facilitator, right? So kind of like keeping the thing moving a little bit, and that was sort of pointed out to me, and I've been reflecting on that a little bit. And the truth is, there's no need for that. This is not an intentional coaching conversation, and even in there's maybe no need to facilitate. So I'm really open to letting this go wherever it goes and see. But what I could do, just to give us a starting point, is I've been reflecting a fair bit on the simplicity of the way I've come to see things of late, both in my coaching and in my life, around the principles around spirituality. Things are seeming I'm really enjoying the simplicity of it. So what I did consider offering, and I'll do that now, is What does the word simplicity conjure up in your minds?
Truth. Truth.
Oh, truth. Oh, ooh. Here, you know what? I'm going to throw some stuff in the chat room. So truth, awesome.
You know, what came to my mind was essence.
Mm.
Like when you get down to the essence of something, it's very simple. That's what's been on my mind.
Mm.
And I'd say harmonious. It's not conflicting with anything. So peaceful.
The core, C-O-R-E, the core. It's like the essence, really.
Sorry, say that again, Carla. The
core, C-O-R-E.
oh,
To me, it's like the essence, but yeah, the
mm.
heart.
Emptiness.
Comes to
in the
mind for
moment.
me
Oh,
is-
thanks, Narian.
What comes to mind for me is flow.
Mm. I've learned to be okay with that word flow. For quite a while, I had an issue with it, but not any longer.
Yeah, it's when I'm not overthinking, you know, it's sort of a verb. It's verbing for me. It's like my life feels like a flow when I'm in that simplicity.
Mm.
You know, so it's really this beautiful non-efforting way of being, I guess, is what flow means in this instance for me.
I like that. I like that non-efforting piece. That fills that for me. That fills flow out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sherry, how are you, young lady?
I'm good. I'm up.
Are you in your pajamas still?
Yeah, I'm in sort of my pajama top down.
Well, good to see you. So, Sherry, we started off this one is a very loose one, and I offered as a starting point the word simplicity. And if you look into the chat, words that have come up for people are truth and essence, clear, ease, harmonious, not conflicting, the core, emptiness, flow. Is there something that jumps into your mind when you hear simplicity?
I think quiet, quiet time. It's been so, we have such a big family, so many grandchildren and children, that it's sad that we can't be connected with them all the time like we used to be right now. But I'm getting so much more quiet time to do the things and think about the things that I'd like to sort of focus on myself, I guess.
And I guess that poses an interesting question around how all of these words that we've used, expansive. Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask how maybe the impact that those words have in your life, either in work or in your personal life. Effortless. Nice, Jessie Lynn. Yeah. Oh, you don't have to put your hand up.
I know, but I'm going to because I didn't want to interrupt if somebody else was.
That's all right.
It's interesting as I listen and like read this. It's, how much time I've spent trying to get somewhere. And I noticed like the post I put up there, I'm always talking about simplicity being powerful. And I think for me, it's when I let go and I come into just the simplicity of beingness, then this source or life force or whatever moves me and I get out of the way. So I think simplicity for me is removing my need to prove or justify or be somebody. I think it's just the beingness that I come to, which, yeah, that feels like all of these things we're talking about. And it's so funny because how many of us spend time doing that nothing instead of something, right?
It's funny because I live my life like, why be simple when you can be complicated? And so it's something to look forward to. No, I have my moments, so I make it worse than it is, but yeah, to let myself to be in that simplicity. In April, I will be able to.
Right. It's over there. It's over there.
Oh, there.
If I ever want to go into overwhelm, all I need to do is hear from Martine the current list of what she's involved with. And then it actually puts me right back into how simple my life is. So I know that's a technique, but some of you may want to try it.
Right. Okay. When in doubt, compare yourself to Martine. Yeah. Oh, uncomplicated, noiseless. Nice, Carmel. Mark, was that your hand that just shot up in there for a second?
Yeah.
Sneaky.
Yeah, simplicity for me is a beautiful change.
Yeah.
Because it's knowing that there is a change there, but it's not knowing that the change is there. And it's just come so nicely. It's just come with ease. It hasn't come with, it's come with seeing the beauty in it. Like, wow, look how that's changed. Look at it, the beauty, look how simple that was. What beauty of change that's just flowing through. So yeah, that's what it brings up for me. Yeah.
You know, as I was distracted for a second when Mark started talking there, and then I sort of looked over and I saw this big smile, and I realized that I don't even know what the hell the dude is saying. It's just all I got to see is his face. It's like, wow, something good is going on there. Not to say that I wasn't listening, Mark, I was, but you were conveying a lot just with your expression, you know. And really quickly to speak to what Anita was saying, and then, you know, Dominic through in beingness. Yeah, I'm big on the be here now thing. And I don't know if it's because I just picked up Ram Dass's book from our coffee table or what, but it seems to me that it's so easy to get caught up in doing or searching or trying. And as soon as that happens, you're no longer just being, you're doing. And that feels really slippery to me these days, that being able to discern between the finite trying and the infinite allowing, that it's easy to slip into the finite, into us doing. And as soon as we do that, we've lost our being, or we've lost an aspect of our being. Some of the simplicity tends to get overcome in the efforting.
You know what I want to pop in with that, love that, is whenever I get into the doing, the effort, there's always two things that came to mind. Expectations will always pop in. I don't ever do anything without an expectation of how things should go or how it should feel or how blah, blah, blah. Expectations, and also kind of goes hand in hand with that, but like the comparing or the measuring or the ranking, how am I doing? Those things really activate themselves. And then there's clutter. And then there's distraction or fear or discouragement or self-pity or all that stuff. There's clutter. And that just, it's so clear to me in this morning, like how clear those two things go hand in hand, of not trusting what we could call a flow, or I like to think of the energy, which is bigger than me, actually does the heavy lifting, and to get kind of humble or right-sized about that. Yeah. And then expectation, because expectations always get me into trouble, or, you know, or others. They provide clutter and distraction. So I hope that made sense to someone. It was helpful to me.
Oh, that's perfect.
I love,
Yeah.
yeah, I love the clutter word is just hit me. When you said clutter, just hit me. It was like, because it's clutter in my mind. Literally, if I leave, files from the last call and last week, and it's that really is if you distinguish from simplicity, that is like, versus the ability to just focus. Michael said, be here now, like just to focus here right now without that drawn attention to that thing and that thing and that thing. Yeah, the word clutter really hit me when you said it. And I think I've been thinking about that, and I've been thinking about, the different things, and how, what happens when you, even, I guess it is that, why is there this and this and this and this and this? It's like, because it's almost like the expectation thing you spoke of, where it's like, well, I got to do that, and to sort of guard against this thing. And notice the word guard against something, and then this, in order to make sure that keeps moving forward, and this, and there's such an effort, like, were it not for me, the universe would stop working. If I don't keep these things going, if I don't keep these things going, it would all, fall apart. Yeah, thanks.
The image just, actually two thoughts. Something that just popped in was, someone who's spinning plates on sticks and constantly running from one to the other, to the other, to the other to keep the plate spinning. But something that jumped out, that Andrea said, so what I heard, or words that jumped out, were when you said they activate themselves. And I think you used that terminology. I might have missed that a little bit, but there was something about, what I heard in that is that once we're on the path away from simplicity, or once we turn away from it, that it just brings us more of the same. It's once their attention has moved in that direction, it's just, okay, here you go. You get more of that now. Wow.
I think too, from a very young age in the Western world, to achieve what is characterized as success, there's massive conditioning from childhood, from parents, from role models, to be more, have more, achieve more. And I'm struck, since I've got involved with Mr. Banks' work, how trying to, in some ways, when you begin to take responsibility for your thoughts, for your life, for your direction, it's a bit like Robert Frost talks about the two roads less traveled. And it would seem to me that society wants, and then probably needs, us to be slave-like to these thought processes, to these behaviors, to serve big corporate, to serve government, to fall in line. Because in a lot of ways, it would seem to me that we, in this process of becoming more of what we were meant to be, we automatically show up as not fitting in some ways. And my sense is that I see sometimes that the mechanism that's business, that's teams, that's organized society, it will reject that which it sees as a threat. So part of my struggle is trying to come to terms, what is the truth? Which is the reason I said simplicity and truth. And when you begin to look at simplicity, truth, love, that triad, you tend to stand apart from a lot of the socialization and say, no, 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 no. Look, I am not following that road well traveled. I'm going my own way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there is a tug to follow rules, to fit in, to be a social animal. And I can feel myself starting to disconnect from that thinking. I hope that's not too esoteric, but it's just where I'm at the minute.
Not at all, Jerry. Thank you.
Gary, I think you're my new best friend. Like, I love everything you just said. And I think for me, that's my struggle through my entire life, is that knowing the truth, the simplicity, and yet feeling like if I followed that, I didn't fit in. She's the crazy one. And now at 58, I frankly don't give a fuck. I'm beginning not to give a fuck what people think, or like, I'm not interested in arguing with them anymore, that because we all have a knowing. Knowing is not, you have to prove something or listen to me and be this. Knowing is knowing, and we all have it. When I access the simplicity, I get to that knowing. And so then it's being, it really is this beingness for me. And am I willing to walk in the world, but not be of the world, kind of a thing. And so that's why I appreciate these groups so much, because it seems that consciousness is raising and more people are becoming willing to walk this uncharted road by many. And I'm hopeful it might become the new normal. Maybe.
I think wonderful, wonderful comments. And I don't think I don't know who said it, but but the man or woman who is awakened, properly awakened from their sleep, never sleep soundly again. You can't not know what you know. Anita, I think that's what you're pointing to. One of the things I find fascinating in the evolution of European thinking is that young people coming up, those that have been for the last 2-3 years, either trying to get on the ladder in terms of a job, in terms of an income, in terms of creating a future, in terms of trying to buy a house. This pandemic has created a breakdown in so many things. And the move forward, the mindless move forward of the herd that I'm pointing to, that when that breaks, once people are forced through fear, and in our case here in the UK, government intervention, to lose a lot of our freedoms and to stay home. We're hit with that propaganda, and I buy into it. I understand why stay home right now. But I just think one of the net effects of this is I'm certainly having conversations with younger people around me and my family and friends and business. I do a bit of executive coaching and work for a couple of charities, and they are thinking more deeply because they have come off the hamster wheel, the mad rush forward. So the rules for many of them, particularly the younger people, are saying, hey guy, we've been conned. This is all about Mr. Big at the top making money, or it's serving some other purpose, but it sure ain't serving mine. So I foresee, Anita, what you're pointing to is people younger than you and I are going to take a long, hard look, and are taking a long, hard look at life at the minute and saying, there's got to be more than this. And there is. I'm beginning to see it. But I mean, I'm into what my understanding of this process. I'm talking about Mr. Banks's work now, fractionally. I mean, it's like just a glimmer. But even so, it has stopped me. It's caused me to stop, reflect, stand back, and say, wow, how did you get involved? What kept you sustained in this corporate move forward? But thanks for your words, Anita. I just think we're at a pivot point, a tipping point right now in a revolution as a species in the Western world, and I do not see it going back to what it was. I just don't see it. And people picking up on thinking like Mr. Banks's work, I think that feeds into a light in the darkness that we've experienced.
I'm speaking to
Please
that.
don't all go be so quiet. I'm not that profound, eh? I'm just an ordinary Scot. Hey. I'm an ordinary Scots guy, whatever the heck that means.
You know, Michael,
Mark, go
when you
ahead.
oh, sorry.
I saw Mark was trying to get, but
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to speak into that, because what was coming up for me was that we're all on a journey, but we're all trying to be in somebody else's other journey. And I think that we're all kind of waking up, or a lot of people are waking up, that and realizing that we have to do our own journey to go to where we're going to. And, you know, as Jerry was saying, with, you know, everybody, you know, the stuff was going on in England and, you know, all over England and the world, I think there are many people who are seeing that they can't continue being on other people's journeys. So they're out there searching. And as they're searching, they're realizing that I can't be X and I can't be Y. So let me do my journey and just see where it takes me to. So that's what I think. Sorry about that. I'm just cutting there.
And it was going so well.
He wanted me to stop.
Aaron must say that when you're starting to get going really good, you get slapped down and said, remember, you're a human.
Well, this is it. This is it. This is it.
I remember real quick, just to interject, I remember doing some stuff with Jack Bransky 5 years ago, I guess now, 4 or 5 years ago now. And he had this amazing ability to have a ringer or a phone go off as soon as you started to lose the plot a little bit. So he had this bullshit. Sorry, I'm not accusing you of anything, Mark, but he had this very sensitive bullshit detector that as soon as you fell back into your intellect, he picked up on that and well, at least he did with me. And he had this way of just looking at me and shaking his head when I started to lose the plot. It was most excellent. Thank you, Jack, if you ever watched this. That was fun. But sorry, Mark, there was no reflection on you there at all, obviously, or anyone else. Sorry, I digress.
There is a rise in consciousness right now. No, if we look at how many peoples are in the 3Ps. No, every day, if you wanted to, you could be on a 3P thing. Eckhart Tolle, that has massive following, Adyashanti, Sadhguru, Deepak, whatever. No, there's people are hungry for something different. And if you look at the young people, they're not following. They're following their own path. Now, if I look at one of my sons, he's doing his own thing. Entrepreneur and doing his own stuff. And mind you, he's an atheist. That's another story. So there's on that. But So there is, I think, a change. And people are trying to follow more their heart than maybe what society wants them to do.
I think that's not even something new, because when back in, well, around the time that we met, Sid, so many of us were hippies, because that's what we were trying to do, was back to the land, back to nature, peace and love, look at, be self-sustaining and all of this stuff. But one of the things that we did was, we had a certain way of dressing, a certain way of looking and talking. And that was the point that Sid made to us. You don't have to be different than the rest of society, because when you make yourself different and stand out and try to be odd or some other way, you're separating yourself and you're not getting any kind of message across that way, And so it was a big slap in the face to all of us who had kids named, Rainbow and Sunflower and all of these wonderful things. And we really thought we were above and beyond and better than everyone, because we were experiencing this new kind of freedom. So I think it's always an interesting path to follow. But a really funny thing that Sid used to say sometimes, and I can't remember in what context it was exactly, but I remember at a couple of meetings when somebody talked about having choices or something, and Sid said, "Oh, if you come to a fork in the road, take it." He didn't say which fork to take or anything else. It was just a funny thing. He thought that was funny.
I think it's funny that you said that. No, we think we're above everybody else, and there's the tendency in certain circle that no, if you're not this, then no. But I think GP Sears takes it to another level, making fun of it, but it is true. There is some snobism, I guess, sometimes from some spiritual communities.
See, I think you're touching on what I brought up in terms of these notions of comparing, competition, and ranking. You could throw in other words, they're all part of the same thing. How made up that is, that we even notice that, gee, I'm on this different path and it's so lonely or something. I mean, all that wouldn't exist in my mind unless I was doing a lot of comparing and kind of tinged with competition. How do I rank up? Where do I stand? And there's something about, back to kind of where we started, about just being, and that pull to do that, I guess, kind of falls away. It feels more irrelevant. I don't know. I've had to take a look at this in the last couple months, and then coincidentally, it pops up in a lot of my client conversations too. And it's really been helpful for me to see how Dominic used the word fight or somewhere. So, there's this, it seems to sow the seeds when I fall into a mindset of comparing, ranking, competition, etc. It sows the seeds of disunity, disharmony, kind of fighting, even if the fight is kind of in my own head. And that's moving away from just being on a path, on my own path. Yeah. So anyway, my 2 cents. This has been a lovely conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, we're only halfway done too.
That's the battle of the journey. That is the battle of the journey. Because we don't realize that we're on a journey. That is the battle.
I'm going to share something real quick that, as Sherry was speaking, it was something that I was going to try to allude to as well, the separation, from whatever place we see ourselves at. And then, the comparison, as Andrea has been talking about. And some of you, that doesn't really matter. I've got a buddy of mine, and we go over to his porch, once every 7 or 10 days, have a few drinks and philosophize or music or whatever it is. And I was over there a few weeks ago, and 2 others were there. So it was my friend and another friend, and they were talking about this car that the guy was going to buy. And I swear to God, I sat there listening to them for 15 minutes. say this, have the same circular conversation. But I'm like, guys, come on, can we move on? You know, I could coach you out of this if you wanted to. I could share something about thought with you if you wanted to, you know, and they're smart guys. We all know each other. But what I realized I was doing was I was separating myself from the fun of the conversation. Right? I wasn't actually being here now. I was thinking that I was outside of this conversation watching it. And it was my own judgment of what they were talking about that kept me from enjoying the fun of it. And it was really poignant. I mean, it sounds silly, but it was really poignant to kind of go, oh, geez, dude, this could be a fun conversation that you could be participating in, but you're sitting off here going, well, you come on, you've been saying the same thing for 15 minutes. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in because it seemed to fit both with what Sherry was saying and in fact with what we've all been saying. You know, that danger of separation. You know, or an us versus them.
Well, it shuts you off. It shuts you off from hearing something, because that was one of the other things that Sid would always tell us is you can hear truth anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a beggar on the street who has nothing and is sitting there just begging, and he might say some words that he doesn't even know what he said, but that your spirit hears, and it opens you up more. So always be aware when you have that wall of judgment up, you're not going to hear.
Yeah.
You're going to miss something really important.
Yeah, and it might be something as simple as fun. You know,
Absolutely.
the participation, yes. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dominic,
I'm sorry. It's an interesting thing to be aware of, I think, when you are doing counseling or any of that kind of work, because when you think of, if you think I am the counselor and this person is the needy person, you miss things. Because I know when I was a social worker, I'm working with families in distress and people in distress. And so it's very easy to, and I saw it many times and happened to myself, where you feel superior, that you have some knowledge about something they don't understand. And a few times I heard the most amazing things from my clients that I wouldn't have heard if I had stayed on that throne in that place of judgment. I wouldn't have thought they had anything that they could say. But people that had said things that I've carried with me all my life that are so amazing, just because I was open to knowing that God was in them. That's how we said it back then, but that God was in them as well as me. I mean, it's in every living thing. So that's a really big one, I think. And it's something you always have to watch out for, because it will slide in here and there for sure.
Yeah, it definitely slides in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's neat that that we're imbued with the gift of becoming sensitive to when it does slide in. You know, if we're paying attention, we can notice. Or at least I'll speak for myself. I'm noticing it earlier and earlier now. You know, that little deviation from I feel good towards I don't feel like I did a few minutes ago. How am I participating in that movement away from feeling good a few minutes ago? I think Catherine, sorry, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sherry. I know
Yeah.
Catherine, I thought Catherine was going to say something a few minutes ago. Is that still true, Catherine? And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. It popped into my head a little while ago when you were talking about, we started with simplicity and you talked about being here now. And what occurs to me is that when I'm just present in my ordinary life, you know, I drop into the beauty and the wonder that already is. Like it's already all here for me. And when I'm not caught up in my personal conditioned thinking, you know, everything comes from that place of being in the present moment and being available for listening, for hearing the truth, from unexpected sources. Sorry, my cat is just laying down on the laptop. So my mind was going back again to the simplicity of when I drop out of all of this thinking about who and what I think I should be, you know, I fall into this place that's ordinary, but, you know, sort of miraculous. Like it's so profoundly different than my life was before Sid Banks and his message, because I'm just in a different reality and connected to this divine wisdom that my own thinking, you know, separated me from. So the simplicity of falling into that, it's a very simple thing, but, you know, seems difficult when I'm thinking about it. And yet, yeah, so the simplicity is very profound and drops me into the present moment. It's a lot of chattering for just when you said that, it just came into me, the simplicity of that shift, you know, and how profound it can be.
And I think also how, I mean, yes, how profound it can be, but also how mundane and commonplace it really is.
That's what I
And
mean.
I don't, and not to denigrate it, obviously,
No.
it's miraculous, but it's common. It feels to me like it's normal.
Well, it is. It's like I hear Sid's voice saying, just go and, you know, and just go live your life. Like once you've got a glimpse of this, go live your life. And like Sherry said, be ordinary. And I had a big thing happen last week because I was comparing and thinking my coaching practice should look a certain way. And I'd gone into this, you know, low mood. And a friend in town here asked me how I was. She runs a store. And I said, oh, I'm kind of, you know, meh. And she, as I was leaving, she said, I want to tell you something. You said something to me last year that changed my life. You probably don't remember this, but I want you to know it changed. And it was about this wisdom that we all have within. And it was just like the universe was giving me this, you know, like wake up from all this thinking that you've got going on about what you're doing here. Live your life, be ordinary. And it's extraordinary because of Sid's teachings, you know, and because of the changes that have happened for me. I don't have to try and be something special. You know, I can just live my ordinary life. And in connecting with people, you know, from the heart, I would, you know, I would say things that come from a place of clarity. I don't even know, you know, I'm not trying to do that. Something's coming through me, you know, when I'm in that place of simplicity and heartfelt connection with people. So that was sort of like my wake up call. Life was saying, she's going, you know, you said something and that just changed everything for me and just popped me out of that bubble of, you know, my life should look different. It's like, no, just keep living your life. Keep looking for that deeper truth, be on your own journey. It's not going to look like anybody else's, you know, and yeah.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate that.
Path.
I really, thanks for the reminder, Sherry, that this is no different than every single moment of time on planet Earth. It's like there are those of us that are enlightened, and then there was a group that is keeping us into the old and all of that. And there's never been a moment in time of that. I remember in university, someone, they put this quote and they go, you know, the trouble is that this, and this. And then they said, yeah, that was Aristotle. Like it was kind of back then, right? But I thought they were reading it like, you know, something that was going on today, right? Yeah. And to me, if you sort of like when you open your eyes and see that the differences are amazing, because I take something like, you know, you look at organizations and I've got, you know, a link into the corporate world and all of that. And I mean, it's where I come from and, you know, I'm familiar with that. But I look and I see that this idea of, you've all heard social enterprise. How, like, was this actually around 50 years ago or in the 30s or 20s? Like, I'm not sure if the idea of that, like you take the evolution of thought that someone would take this idea, social enterprise, and there are these things like this guy out of New York. I forget, it's a charity called Charity Water. I don't know what it's called, but it's some guy who decided what the heck is this corporate stuff and making money and all that. But he applied the same idea to, you know, you could get clean water to these villages and it's clears up all these diseases and the kids can go to school and all that. It's like the most simple, ridiculously simple idea that could completely alter the lives of entire areas. So just the one simple idea, he decides it's not that expensive. He comes up with some thing to do it. And of course, there's lots of money here in the, you know, in our world. So if you put, you know, gave the money, he could do all these things and all of a sudden all these lives are improved. So, but the idea of structuring a business that, or organization that would be measured not on how much profit it could make, but this idea of impact, right? Well, but see, that's an evolved thought. It's an expanded thought, right? But were it not for, and this is where I think for me, I don't want to denigrate the thought that brought this about. So someone once thought that you could organize things and make money. Right? That was a thought that may have been really appropriate back at the time that it happened. But out of that thought and the structures that created profit, someone could take that thought now and take it further. And so if we don't fight against anything, but honor all of it, I think that's what allows it to expand. The moment we fight those dirty people who are only in it for themselves, when many of them, you know, what was it, Bill Gates and those other who created that thing, the contest, because, you know, they're all in competition. So someone says, well, I'm going to start this club for people who have given away $1 billion in their lifetime. And all of a sudden, this club has become this thing, and people signing up to giving away $1 billion in their lifetime. Mark Zuckerberg, I think, is the youngest one to do this. But, and furthermore, where they are saying, we will, and I think Bill Gates did this, where he said, when he was the richest man in the world, he said, look, my family, $1 billion is like way more than enough. That's all I'm ever leaving my family. The rest of it will be given away. And so what kind of a mindset, right? Like that. So it's, yeah, I think there can be a harmony in all of it. We need not protest anything.
I really like that, Dominic, and I think it speaks to you know, the flow that we were talking about earlier. You know, rather than resisting what we perceive as needing to be changed, but rather allowing change to happen. You know.
Reminds me of the old Zen story, you know, is that so? A non-judgmental, something appears to be happening that is judged as bad or judged as good, and his answer was, is that so? Is that so?
Sorry, Bruce.
And earlier, Michael was talking about, and he realizes he is, has got complicated, or isn't still being present, isn't being there, and he's able to notice that faster and faster and get realigned or whatever quicker. But I suspect if he traces back how he got out of alignment, it was because there was a judgment or a ranking there somewhere and a non-acceptance. We're having trouble. We have a couple of friends I mean, good friend, not really close, but we care about them a lot, and just been diagnosed with cancer, and we're struggling with how is that fair, because they're both lovely people and all that stuff, and we're judging it as not fair, and frustrated with not being able to do anything, especially in COVID, can't even go visit. So we're struggling with being present about that at the moment, but it's hard to say, is that so, and feel you're, I don't know, feel you should be doing something. The same old theme. I'm not doing anything. I must be a terrible person. Oh, a judgment. Anyway.
You know, that not doing anything, right? The not doing anything, I must be a terrible person. There's such wisdom in not doing anything when you could pay attention to the feeling in it, right? Like, so in other words, I should do this, right? Because what they're doing is so wrong. I'm going to, like, as that, right? If you don't catch it, it sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go organize this now, and we're going to be against them, right? But if you catch the feeling of it, it's that, I mean, that's the thing. And then you go, well, but I can't think of anything. I don't know. I don't like this, and I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, there's a certain wisdom in, yeah, you shouldn't do anything from a feeling like that, right? And if you can stay with it, it's like a different idea can arise. And as that different idea can arise, it's like, oh man, this is a great idea. Now you can't help but do something. Now you can't help but get in action, but there's no effort in it. And I guess the thing is trusting that. Well, how can I sit here?
Yeah, I was just going to say that about trusting, and how fascinating and wonderful it is that the universe keeps challenging, you know, because I have become better at, you know, I used to, I was a workaholic and spent all my summers at my uncle's farm, where literally if you weren't in physical pain from working, you weren't considered to be working enough. And so I was, you know, I get upset about, I'd made a judgment of what I should have accomplished by this time period or whatever, and be critical, and if things weren't going well, I'm not going to meet this deadline, or I'm not going to, and usually the deadline was imposed by me, nobody else, as a judgment, and work harder. I'm getting far better at letting it go and just trusting, you know, if I'm writing something and it's not going well and I can't see my way through, trusting that it'll come, it'll be fine. And so now the universe throws me something like friends with cancer, that you know, I can't do anything, I can't fix this, but I'm struggling with saying it'll be fine, it'll work out. Is that so? It's just neat the way the universe keeps upping the ante for growth.
Nicely upping the ante for growth. Nice, Bruce. That's solid, man.
And sometimes
You know,
doing nothing
Bruce,
is the right thing to do. Sorry, Anita. Like, you
Go
know,
ahead.
the situation with my sister, and is totally ongoing. And each time she make a decision, of course, she feels that I'm not too supportive. But when I tell her that all the decisions that she's made so far are based on fear or are based on anxiety, and then she ruminates all the time, so she crank herself up, so to speak, right? And then she feels bad, and then no, so I try to point her back, you know, and she said, "Well, make the decision for me." I says, "Fuck no." It's like, no way on earth, no. It's not my place to make a decision, because what's right for me is not right for you. And I see so much, because through her, the validity of coming back to your center. I think it's easier said than done when you know I'm not the one stuck in that situation. But from the outside, I can see the value of being in your center, and then the right thing will show up. Than being caught up in that. It's like I said, it's easier said than done. I'm not the one stuck in that situation.
So you can tell her she has to learn that herself. But in the meantime, thank her for being such a great teacher for you.
Yeah, like that's going to go well. Yeah.
Well, that's just your thinking, Martine. I wanted to, if I can quickly share something, and as I was listening, the image that came to me was of trying to fly a kite. You know, you can hold the kite and run as hard as you can to try to get it into the air, or you can just stand there and wait for the wind to come and kind of go and let it go. And I don't know at which point that jumped in, but it seemed pertinent enough to share. So there you have it. Do with that what you will. You know. Anita, I think you were going to say something, weren't you? Maybe not.
Well, yeah, I was with Bruce. It's, you know, what you're talking about is how, like, now these situations I'm experiencing, friends with cancer and things like that. And, you know, for me, I've been noticing much of the same. How I notice it maybe has changed. If I resist, then I keep getting more of these situations that I'm resisting. Like, there's an energy thing going on with it. And I don't know if I'm going to articulate this correctly, but what I find is that when I experience what I could judge as an uncomfortable situation or something like that, if I just do the pause and come back to this more beingness and feel what's going through me, you know, where are the thoughts coming from? How does it feel in my body? Like, I'm just noticing all that, not doing anything with it, but noticing it. And it seems like that brings me back to a space of allowing. And then I know what to do. You know, like you said, oh, I got to do something, right? It's like that process for me of filtering through all this information that I've gotten to this point in my life, and the shoulds and have tos, and, you know, whatever. It's like I just dissolve all that into coming back to the simplicity of being. And then maybe I move to do something, or I think the energy in my essence, just that, there's a diffusing. Does that make sense? There's a diffusing that happens within me and of the situation itself. And it just seems like everything's always working out then.
Wow, that was bang on 12 o'clock. Does that feel like a good place to stop to anyone else? Sherry, you were leaning in a little bit there. Was there a thought?
No, not really.
Perfect.
Nothingness. Just a nothingness.
Nice. Yeah. All right. That was a nice little pause. And I don't know about y'all, but it's a bright, sunshiny day and we're going for a walk somewhere. So that's what we're doing. Oh, nice, Anita. Yeah. And so again, I'm going to close off by saying I'm still blown away that people show up. It's so cool for people to bring their time and their energy. And I really appreciate it. It's very cool. So see you in a couple of weeks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
I'll get this one posted later on today after our walk. Love you all so much. Sherry, great to see you again. Jerry, good to meet you. Narayan, good to meet you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all soon.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Wonderful.
you, everyone. Thank you
See
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.